Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about leadership and intuition, what it means to combine the two of them together. I'm going to give you one tip and tool on the difference between your ego and your intuition. I'm looking at my notes, by the way. And secondly, we are going to learn how and why sometimes we get really kind of confused that we can't do something, that we cannot do are we're not intuitive. Why is that showing up so much for people like, oh, it's real for you, but it's not real for me. So the why. Okay, so here we go. First and foremost, how I know what is the difference between our ego and intuition. Listen, leadership in anything, if you're an entrepreneur, soulpreneur, which is what I work with the most, is we have a tendency to be following other people in how they became successful in their businesses. And leading your business and leading your personal life really means to understand that individualistic aspect of who you are. It's actually all of us walking into the age of Aquarius where we're stepping more into that individual sovereignty for ourselves. And when we start to listen and follow what it is that works for ourselves, it always makes us a little nervous because maybe nobody else has done it that way. Nobody speaks the way you do. Nobody has the same philosophies as you. And because we've been kind of herded into this idea thinking that we all have to be the same in order to be successful, which is what has worked for many, many millennia, but it no longer is going to work anymore. And it's burning people out. And women really haven't had a fair advantage of going in trusting what is innately within you, which is your intuition. It's your community. It's learning to trust that inner softer voice that's really been denied for a long period of time. Okay, I'm going off in a direction I didn't want to go into. So let me get back to it. So how do we know the difference between our ego and our intuition? Because it becomes very valid and important when it comes to managing that business or your personal life and leading it in a way and in the direction that you want it to go into. So I truly believe that your intuition is the place which your higher soul self, which is the thing that's attached to all things, right? So you are connected to whatever it is that you desire to be connected with when it comes to wisdom and knowledge. And when we are playing in that field for ourselves and starting to lead from that aspect, what happens is we have to understand, like, can I trust what's coming through me? Because it kind of still sounds like me. And that's going to be very true. A lot of the times, your intuitive self is going to sound just like you sound. It's going to use the same cadence. It might use the same words. It doesn't mean and that happens a lot because when you can own that when you have slowed down enough to ask yourself a very important question and be asking your higher soul self, that aspect of you that is connected to your soul, and your soul is connected to the divine. And when you can give credence to what information is coming through and actually write it down, you can be sure that you're going to start to see the distinction between when it's your ego speaking and when it's your intuition speaking, because it is kind of a fine line. First of all, your intuition's never going to be yelling or mean or mad at you. It just isn't because it realizes what you came here to do in this human suit. Your intuition's always going to guide you towards what your life purpose is. If you don't know what your life purpose is, I suggest really diving into your human design or astrology or reach out and book a reading with me and I can help you out with that because your intuition is always going to guide to push you forward on what that life purpose is. It is not going to keep you stuck and stagnant, which is what the ego wants to do, because the ego wants to keep you safe. The ego has its purposes. Of course, intuition is never going to push you so out of your comfort zone that you are in fear of your life or in fear of what's going to happen, but it is going to push you outside of your comfort zone just enough so that you realize that you're growing and expanding, because that's what you came here to do in this human suit. And when we start to understand, okay, is this information that I am receiving, this download, this hit, this idea that I received, is this a part of the big picture of who I am? Is this a safe thing for me to do? And does it scare me? Great questions to ask yourself. And does it scare me so much that I can't do it? Then don't do it, right? Then maybe there's some somatics work that you need to do, some nervous system work. And of course, we never want to ever, ever, ever do anything that's life threatening to ourselves. That's not what the intuition does. It's not a pedal to the metal kind of thing. It's going to be, this is the next best thing for you, but it's going to be I don't know, sometimes even crunchy for me. But you know why that is because your whole, your intuition not only understand your soul, not only understands life purposes, it also understands the wounds that you came in here with. And typically, through all my years of study of Chiron, which is a asteroid kind of, is it an asteroid or is it a, it's an asteroid, I think. Anyways, that doesn't matter. It is the placement that tells me the wound that you're carrying through this lifetime, that you're going to have to keep evolving through it. And literally, usually I can see, not 100%, but most of the time I can see if I know somebody's Chiron, I already know what they're going to get looped up in when it comes to working through their intuition and their life purpose. What's the fear going to be? What's the thing that's going to feel really unstable for them? And when you start to learn that, and then you start to acknowledge, oh, my intuition's kind of guiding me in this direction, but I'm a little nervous to do it because, and we already know what the because is. And you'll start to get yourself really acclimated with what the because is. And when you get acclimated with the because, then you know you need to walk through it anyways, which means setting up some tools and some supports and possibly doing some nervous system regulation. Like there's always steps after that. But that awareness becomes huge, huge for people. So acknowledging and understanding all of that. What is Chiron and how it works within your system? So your intuition is always going to be the thing that talks lovingly to you. It may address something pretty blunt. It can be blunt, but it's never going to be mean. And it's never going to push you beyond into anything that would be harmful to you. That is the opposite. The intuition always wants to help you to grow and to establish yourself. So, the second phase of this that I wanted to talk about was understanding why it is that you may feel like I am not intuitive, or I only feel like I'm intuitive a little bit. I play with it here and there. One of the reasons is because of the languaging that we have here on planet Earth. And the languaging is, you have probably watched, like I have, many, many, many times of people who are psychic, a medium, or a channel per se. And they usually will speak in tones of, well, I hear this or I see this for you. Those are the two standard ones that you hear. So that means when someone says to you, oh, you're clairvoyant, which would be seeing, and you're like, oh, but I can't see. What's typically happening for most people who are doing this for a living is they're not just like seeing a full-blown picture. Some of them can. So when you're going to a psychic or a medium or a channeler, they're using those words because it's quick and it's efficient, but they obviously don't have the time to sit down and describe to you how it is that they're, quote, seeing something or hearing something or knowing something. They typically never say, I know. So we all walk away thinking, oh, they're having a full-blown conversation with my guides, let's just say. And so they're hearing this whole conversation going on, or they have this whole reel, like they can see everything so clearly and purely. And when I close my eyes, I don't hear a different voice and I don't see things in the purity like I'm watching a movie. So therefore you deny. You think, oh, I can't do that. I don't see, I don't hear. But there are different levels of hearing, seeing, knowing, sensing, smelling, and tasting. And this is the component, I think, that for a lot of people who are really wanting to learn more about their intuition, they are already denying it because they've already got a preset notion of what the senses are like for everybody else. And therefore, because it doesn't show up that way in which you have perceived it for yourself, it doesn't work. Capiche? Okay, so let's talk about this. And I'm only going to talk about one right now because I could sit here for a couple hours and talk about it, but I want to be a little bit more precise on that. Clairvoyance, being able to see. So a lot of people, they'll say, well, I see this, or they showed me this, right? That's another terminology you hear a lot of readers talk about. I see this. And for you, a lot of people, when they close their eyes, they think that they're going to see something behind their eyelids. It's where I started a gazillion years ago. I'm like, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. It's like, that's not how they necessarily see. You're seeing kind of in your mind's eye. That's what we call the third eye. It's like the mind's eye. And it could be that there's different types of way of seeing. So let's break that down. It's not to say that some people can't close their eyes, especially at night, and see a form of something. That's part of clairvoyance. But for your mind's eye, people will say, well, I can't see it. Like you say, go to a beach. I can't see a beach. Okay. You may not see a beach in full color, but you may see a piece of sand. You may see an outline of water somewhere. And for some of you, you'll see it full blown color. There are a lot of people who can just go there. They probably have gate 41 in their human design chart, by the way. Um, but um, but for a lot of you, you're only going to see bits and drabs of it. It may not, especially if you're new to it, you're not going to come into this vast color array in your head like a whole video. I'm so sorry. There's a very loud machine next to my house all of a sudden. So if you hear that, I apologize. It's this idea that sometimes for me, like this would be a great example. Can you right now in your mind's eye, you can close them if you want, can you see your car? The car that you own, the vehicle that you own, or if you take public transportation, can you see the bus that you go on, right? A lot of the times that's easy. People can see that because you're going back into a memory. You can go back and and you'll probably see it in more detail this way, backing your visual, which is in your mind's eye. So you're using your mind's eye right now with that. By using your mind's eye in that way, you are seeing something in full blown color with probably a lot of detail to it, right? But if I were to say, because I'm pulling you out of a memory, and I were to say, go to a beach. Well, let's say beaches aren't your favorite place, or you've gone to a beach, but when you say go to a beach, for some reason I can't find a memory of it. Because a lot of the times the clairvoyance at the beginning comes from a memory. The second thing is that sometimes for people, they will have to pull a memory and put it in to their mind and say, okay, I'm just going to go here for now because I can see it more vividly. For a lot of times, though, it's just bits and pieces of things. It's in black and white. Sometimes it's just an outline of something. That's it. Sometimes it's just an aura of something, a slight color, and then the color disappears. A lot of the times it's in black and white and grays. These are all clairvoyant. And a lot of people who do this stuff for a living, they are seeing it in that kind of structure, right? Then there's also the concept of, for a lot of people, what I've distinguished is that they will have kind of more vivid um, abilities to see things with full color or parts of color, more vivid details to it. If it's something that's here that's earthbound, but let's say you're connecting up with a guide or, a loved one or an ancestor or an angel or a light being, whatever. A lot of the times that's not going to come through in full color. That's just going to come through in like a very, very soft, like outline of something. That's it. There's a lot of reasons why that can happen. But then you can distinguish between, oh, wait a minute, this is actually, I'm connecting up with something from the other side behind the veil. And eventually, what can happen is the more that you practice it, the more details and colors can come through. And that I have witnessed. People at the beginning who are like, I don't see anything, and they keep working on it. And all of a sudden, they have this ability, and all of a sudden, details start coming through in color beyond the veil. There's no right or wrong in this, you guys. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away from this. We have heard people say, I see or I saw this for you. And we, being the sitter, get it receiving the information. Oh, there you go. Receiving the information. I really have to turn off my reactions. Think that they are just seeing it like we see things on the movie screen or the TV screen. It's not that way. So don't deny yourself the idea that you can see. And by the way, you may never see full blown stuff. That's okay. It doesn't mean it's not there. Because in truth, I'm going to leave you with this because in truth, a lot of the times your intuition will start with, let's just give the example of an outline of something, and then a knowing comes in, or you'll hear something. And then it's usually a combination of two that your intuition will come in through. And of course, we don't recognize that because when we've heard other people talk about it, right, the professionals out there talking about it, they don't describe it like that. Like, well, I heard this, I saw this for you. They're not going to go into detail to you how they're seeing it. And then a knowing comes in and what a knowing is. And then they heard something or they saw a word and then they could feel something. They're not going to go into that because by the time they're done giving you the description of everything, you would get no information. But because we have heard this, that becomes our perception that we think I can't do that, therefore I am not. So I hope that helps you today. I hope you recognize the beautiful gifts that you actually have. It takes a moment to kind of reignite this and to remind ourselves with it. But I can tell you this, leading via your intuition with the blending of your ego, because your ego is going to keep you safe, is the place that I have seen more businesses thrive. I've seen more personal relationships feel seen and heard. And more importantly, you kind of come alive yourself because all of a sudden you feel like all parts of you are coming online. And for women, this has been a part of ourselves that's really been almost denied in a lot of ways. A lot of us have to work through a lot of belief systems on what intuition is and how safe is it. And, I've heard this is a bad thing. Talking to your higher soul self is the most natural thing. You're already doing it. We're just putting voices, words, colors, um, and knowingness behind it. So until next time, always follow your passion and your purpose. And if you want to learn more, go to my link below. And I will talk to you guys very soon. Blessings.